What's up everyone, I'm Chirag and welcome to part 4 of the tutorial series on AWS HTTP API. So in this tutorial we will go through the creation of the new stage, that is the custom stage. And in the previous tutorial we had used the default stage for deployment, and within that stage we had automatic deployment enabled, right? So here we will be creating the custom stage followed by the deployment of our existing configuration or the route that we have created in the previous tutorial with respect to the stage that we are going to create. So let's get started. So open the API or HTTP API that you have created, and once you are within that, click on stages from the left panel under deploy. So click on stages. So here you will be able to see the default stage that has been created while we had configured or created this HTTP API, and we had also enabled the automatic deployment. As you can see, it's enabled. So now here we want to create a new stage, and maybe we don't want to use the default stage, right? So we can delete it if you want, right? So to create the new stage, click on create from the left panel or the middle panel. So once you click on create stage, you need to pull in or fit in some details. So like the stage name, so I will say version 1 as a stage name. You can enter the description if you want. And then we have stage deployment. So here you need to decide whether you want to enable the automatic deployment or not. So once you enable the automatic deployment, it will auto deploy all the changes that you make within the HTTP API, and if you don't enable it, then you need to select the deployment. So these are the 3 deployments that we did earlier. So we will select the latest one. So this is the last deployment or the automatic deployment that was triggered by the changes of the API configuration, right? So we will select this. And apart from that, if you enable automatic deployment, you don't need to select that automatic deployment snapshot, right? So if you disable this, then you need to select this automatic deployment snapshot. So that I have selected. If you want, you can add the stage variables, but we will come to that at later point of time, and add a tags if you want. And once you are done with the configuration, say create. So as you can see, we have created the another stage, that is version 1. So here in this stage, as you know that we had selected the latest deployment snapshot, right? So that snapshot or the deployment configuration will be reflected within this stage, right? So now we are good to test this. So we are going to copy the invocation URL. We will navigate to Postman. We will paste the URL over here. That is /version1 is the stage name, followed by the resource name or the route name. So in our case, the route name was first-resource. So I will say first-resource. And the method was get. So here we have get, and we will say send. And this should work, right? Because we had selected the latest snapshot or the deployment snapshot, right? That needs to be reflected as a part of the version 1 stage. So as you can see, we have a response saying hello from Lambda, and it's working fine, right? So this is how you can create the custom stage. Now let's say, for example, if we create a new resource over here. So let's say test resource, we will say get method, and we will say create, right? Now I will attach the same configuration or the same integration as a part of the backend. So I will select the existing one. So I will say HTTP API -lambda, and I will say attach integration. And if you want to create and attach a new integration, then you can click over here. If you want to select anything from the existing integration that you did, then you can click on this drop down, and it will list out all the attachment, all the integration that has been done. So in my case, it's HTTP -lambda. So I will select that, and I will say attach integration. So now since we have 2 stages over here, one with the automatic deployment enabled and one with the automatic deployment disabled. Now let's try to invoke the resource that we have just created using the default stage or the stage with the automatic deployment as enabled. So I'm going to paste that invocation URL. So make sure this is the default stage invocation URL, right? Followed by / followed by the resource name. Now this should work in this case because the automatic deployment is enabled. So as you can see, we got the response status code 200 and the response message is successful. So for default stage, it's working fine. Now let's try it with the custom stage that we have created. So I'm going to copy this invocation URL, copy, and I'm going to paste it over here, followed by the resource name or the route name, that is test in my case. And let's try to invoke this using the version 1 stage. So as you can see, it returned the status code 404 that is not found with the appropriate message that this resource or this route is not found, because here we don't have the automatic deployment enabled and we need to explicitly deploy all the changes to version 1 stage as required, right? So for that, what we need to do is we can simply click on this deploy button. So the new resource that we have created is not reflected as a part of the version 1 stage. So that's the reason we need to explicitly deploy that changes to version 1 stage, right? Because it don't have the auto deploy enabled, right? So here we will be selecting the version 1 as a manual deployment as a stage. If you want to add a description, you can add it over here and we will say deploy to stage. So now all the changes or the changes that we have made as a part of the route creation that has been deployed as a part of version 1 stage. Now if we go ahead and try to invoke this invocation URL, then it's going to work fine. So as you can see, it returns status code 200 with the appropriate response message, right? So guys, this is how you can create the custom stage and with the automatic deployment disable, and this is how you can deploy all the changes to your manual deployment stage, right? So guys, that's all I wanted to cover in this tutorial, and as usual, if you want me to do tutorial on any use case or service, then please leave them below and I will try my best to come up with the tutorial as soon as possible. And if you have any queries or comments, then again please leave them below and don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and see you next time.